Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where all of that new life and those new civilizations have already been, but because they weren't us, they don't count.
Captain, that's not the line.
Quiet, Spock. Captain, incoming message from Starfleet Command. They want us to review Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. But I don't need to search for Spock. I already know where he is. He's over there.
I do not believe that is what they meant, Captain.
Oh, very well. Mr. Sulu, set course for Star Trek III, the one that isn't about the whales.
Aye, sir. Why does this film begin with the cinematic equivalent of a guy filming the screen with his phone?
Well, it's how we get a recap of the previous film's finale, laddie. It signifies that it happened in the past. Things were smaller and appeared further away from us in the past. It's a well-known fact.
This film actually contains the iconic Star Trek theme. It's only taken us until film 3 to get it into the cinema, which is surprising.
Spock, why are you reciting the space, the final frontier mantra in this film? That's my line.
They probably heard how you screwed it up at the start of this video and decided not to risk it, Captain.
My goodness, there are Klingons in this film. They finally get to be an enemy instead of a cameo. I'm shocked that the production teams held out this long before getting them to step up to the plate. They're Star Trek's most iconic villains. It's quite a testament to the production team that they held out for so long before using them. The security teams are still wearing their kids' baseball padding on duty though. They looked stupid in the previous films, and they look stupid now.
Oh, come now, Mr. Sulu. Everyone knows ill-fitting baseball gear is the only protection against a phaser. Oh yeah? Tell you what, you go borrow some Little League equipment and I'll unlock the armory. Let's test that theory, shall we?
Gentlemen, there's no need to fight. We all know they look stupid. Let's just laugh at them and move on.
That's easy for you to say, Captain. You don't have to work with them. I'm head of security. I have to hear their whining every day.
Well, get your own ship and you won't have to worry about that sort of thing anymore. Being the captain has its perks, you know. It's not all green alien space babes. There are other benefits as well.
Damn it, Jim, why am I doing an impression of Mr. Spock?
Because he downloaded his brain into your head, remember?
The damn pointy-eared space elf. That's just not right. I'm a doctor, not a memory card.
You did a hell of a good impression of Spock's voice in this film, you know. When you first appear in the shadows, talking like him, I was tricked into thinking you were him for a moment. It's very impressive.
The special effects for the Enterprise and Excelsior in the space dock don't quite hold up these days, and in fact they don't actually measure up well against all of the effects from the previous film.
Aye, but the quality of everything else is brilliant. It's still a visually impressive film.
Well, except for the CGI for the Genesis Planet exposition dump. That felt a bit flat by modern standards. The 3D isn't bump mapped properly, and where they do manage to do some bump mapping, the textures don't quite work.
Then Sarek arrives with a revelation that everyone in the Federation should have already been aware of. Vulcans can come back from the dead. Mr. Spock, why didn't I know this already? Do Vulcans just keep their ability to come back to life a secret?
We are a complex people, Captain.
You're a bunch of dicks who keep secrets. That's what you are.
That is essentially what I said, Captain.
This part of the plot is understandably necessary. They need to get Spock back into the crew so the next films can happen. But it's so poorly executed that it just doesn't work for me. It's acted well enough, but my goodness, it's clumsy.
Then comes the bar scene where the Genesis line that we all know and laugh about happens. I don't like this scene. It's where I talk loudly about my plans to visit a restricted planet. And then I get collared by the space fuzz, and apparently that should be a surprise.
My goodness, logic and consequences actually happen in Star Trek sometimes. Who would have seen that coming?
Also, I openly discuss having money, even though in the next film you act like you don't understand the concept, and am incredibly racist to an alien.
Same old McCoy.
Indeed. The low-speed chase against the Excelsior is very nicely done, and the model effects still stand up to scrutiny. The Excelsior looks like a more modern, more powerful ship. It's just a shame we don't get to see what exactly a transwarp drive is in this context.
Also, what's a transwarp computer drive? Is that like a floppy drive, or am I saying I took components out of the ship's navigation computer or something? It's a very confusing line and it doesn't make sense.
You know what also makes no sense? Kirk gets demoted because he stole the Enterprise in this film, but you don't face any consequences for sabotaging an experimental system that could have seen ships arrive at emergencies across the Federation much faster. I'm just lucky, I guess.
Doctor, Savick and David find a naked child on the Genesis planet in a snowstorm, and the kid is miraculously not dead. How?
Beats me.
Sadly, this is the point where the film starts to break down. It's been good so far, but now Spock is linked to the Genesis planet by means that are never actually explained, and both he and the planet are breaking down. This makes no sense to me. Also, the plot has pretty much ground to a halt. It's just dull.
Agreed. The fight between the Klingons and David is just dull and doesn't work. It doesn't feel real, nor does my "Klingon bastards, you killed my son" rant. None of it has any weight to it. There's no pathos. It doesn't work. Captain, I have a question. Uhura, I forgot you were there for a moment. I'm not surprised, Captain. The film has pretty much forgotten me as well. All I did was hold a guy hostage on Space Dog, an act that I won't get punished for in future films, by the way. Why am I the only one who's going to get held to account for my actions in this film?
Perks of being the captain, Captain.
Shut it, wise guy. Uhura, what was your question? Why didn't the Klingons just board the Enterprise rather than waiting for Kirk's permission to come aboard? They're not acting right there, are they? It's weird, and if the script was better, they would have been battling automated defences while Kirk set the self-destruct and Scotty rigged the transporter to get everyone to safety. Yet that's not what happens. What we get instead is Kirk saying, "Hey, come on over. I promise there won't be any tricks." The self-destruct? They blew up the ship. My ship. My beautiful ship. Mr. Spock, turn off the sensors. Don't let NT see that.
I don't think the ship can understand what we're watching, Captain.
There, old girl. Don't worry. Jim will keep you safe. I love you, NT. Kiss, kiss.
Most illogical.
Aye, the destruction of the Enterprise is given a lot of time, as the ship deserves. And it looks great. At least there's that.
The effects turning the young Spock into Leonard Nimoy are played for creepiness, and it definitely works. They're really unnerving.
Aye, but again, the fight scene just doesn't work. It's too slow and it lacks any real drama to it. It feels like an amateur film or a stage play. This should be the big climax of the film, Captain. Kirk against the guy who ordered his son's death. Do you hear me? Of course I do. You're right next to me. But I agree, yes. Where's the anger? Where's the pathos? Where's the anything? It's all missing. It's too clinical, and none of it works.
Then the gang fly to Vulcan in the Klingon ship and meet up with Uhura, who has managed to spend as little time as possible in this film. Sarek performs the Vulcan necromancy on Spock and pulls his memories out of McCoy in a process the film calls Calto, but which I can only describe as unzip mc:/coy/spock.pkg.
McCoy is warned that the process is dangerous, and he naturally decides to go along with it, because in a Star Trek film, dangerous can only mean that it will work.
It does. Spock is back to life, and I get my senses back. It still drags on, though, which turns what should be an emotional reunion into a dull mess.
Still, Spock finally recognizes his old friend, Captain Kirk, who is me, and we get a reunion scene with all the crew, so all's well that ends well. The film may be a bit meandering at times, but there is a good story here, and I still enjoyed it. That's why I'll give this film 2 out of 5 faces. If you liked today's video, please consider supporting me on Patreon. And an extra special thanks goes out to Chief89 and Tepic. Thank you.